Wrestling fans, we explode into Christmas for the 9th annual Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive Cyber Fan Fest. A human sea of superstar guests have come to MWF Studios for live interviews, tributes, and virtual autograph signings. The good news is, if you miss these superstar signings, we have individual autograph photos available as well as all-inclusive VIP packages throughout the season. If you want them for yourself or to give us a holiday gift for Christmas, get the order in by December the 19th. On Christmas night, we'll reveal the winner of the massive Christmas Week Mega Raffle, where one lucky fan wins an entire jackpot of prizes, again, to benefit the Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive. 2020 has been a brutal year for the economy, as well as our toy drive efforts. We could use any and all the help you could give us. Be part of the professional wrestling community. If you're going to take part in any toy drive this year, let it be one where we update Santa Claus's GPS and honor Paul Bearer's memory. Head on over to BostonWrestling.com now.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, welcome to a special installment of Wrestling Insider's special edition as we end the year, the hellacious year that was 2020. Before we begin, want to send you a Happy New Year's shout out, with my main message being, don't be a scumbag, don't drink and drive. A drunk driver almost killed myself in the iron cheek, leaving me with CRPS and other physical ailments. I'm feeling the CRPS. I've been barely able to walk for a week. Make the right choice if you're going to go out tonight and have some fun with friends, such as great friends of ours like Slick Rick B, Maria Davis, Tina, Tania, whatever your true name may be, Vaughn, Kevin Petrantozzi, down at the beautiful Gold Exchange in Greensboro, North Carolina, H&M Limousine, on all of our other great Kevins and friends that tune in. Who am I forgetting? J.A. Will, Trigger Trey, our new buddy, Donnie Warbucks, popping in from New York, Lisa, the list goes on and on and on. All of these great people we didn't even know when 2020 began, and now as the year ends, I call them extended parts of the family. Mr. Matt, we're going to get to you in 1 second before I get in just a little cheap plug here for all that can be said about our live Boston Wrestling MWF event operations being destroyed in 2020 due to coronavirus, and our 9th annual Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive Cyber Fan Fest being a complete and utter disaster. The one thing that cannot be taken away from our hard work in 2020 and the dedication of these shows is the growth of our video presence, growing many months tenfold from the previous year, which is amazing to me. It says to me, Dan Mirade, you crazy SOB, the continued hard work with you and all the staff that the fans at home never get to see, and the Matt Degnans of the world is going to bring more great fans into your social media universe, your YouTube premieres, and especially the Patreon family, where you get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insiders talk shows, our world-renowned studio shoot interview DVD library, and even exclusive bonus content like our New Year's Eve episode with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas, available tonight, all for less than the cup of coffee down the street at Starbucks, and you're helping keeping wrestling legends working at the same time over at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Again, if you forgot that link, I'll say it one more time, patreon.com/Boston Wrestling, where you, yes you, can personally make a difference in the life of these legends, where we present you with compelling content along with it. As 2021 approaches and you're looking to update that wrestling man cave or simply treat yourself, the eBay store remains open 24/7, and with each purchase, you get an on-air shout-out thank you from the Hoffer Tony Atlas himself. Again, is us thanking you for helping us keep the lights on. With that said, we welcome a man that has more pairs of socks than there have been years of life after Christ. Southwestern Connecticut's finest, Mr. Matt Degnan. Matt, welcome one more time here in 2020.
The plug's over.
So what's that now?
The plug's over. We can get into AEW first.
The plugs are never over here in the world of Boston wrestling. They are until we can say we're making that full-time payday, baby. The plugs never end in the world of Boston wrestling. You have yet to see Matt, and I know the fans will be in for a treat on tomorrow night after SmackDown, after the Thunderdome lights go off, the dome on John Cena Sr.'s head goes on, we have our new winter background. So that's really something to be excited about. The ones with the Christmas tree I didn't think would be fitting for January. So we have something new to look forward to for the winter as far as the visual background goes, along with all of that great content. With that said, Matt, which show do we look at first tonight? Will it be AEW Dynamite? Will it be WWE NXT from December the 30th, 2020?
AEW.
All right, let's go there then. Off to the races.
Alrighty. AEW Dynamite kicked off with their celebration of life for John Huber / Luke Harper / Brodie Lee with a 10-bell salute. A nice video of Jon Moxley / Dean Ambrose giving his thoughts and memories of Huber. This is one of the many videos we would see throughout the night. Just a reminder that the AEW show last night wasn't storyline or gimmick oriented per se. It was kind of just a tribute to Brodie Lee. So the AEW part of the show won't be as in depth as the NXT part, since there won't be much to break down for AEW, since you had, faces with the heels and heels with the faces, vice versa. So not much to break down when it was just a bunch of tag team matches that were thrown together, but for good reason, for a tribute to a lot of the guys' friend that passed away. What did you think about the opening to the show?
Well, you know what? I want to say this before the show. I didn't like the idea or the concept of it, changing characters, personas around for one night. If it was me, Dan Mirade, that had passed away, I would want the business treated with the genuine respect the fans and the industry deserve. Again, that's one man's opinion. I'm not trying to take a shot at AEW and how they did things. I'm just saying it's not the way that I would do it. If this was a dramatic television show and someone passed away, one of the characters, it isn't how it would be treated. If it was a movie, it isn't how it would be treated. If it was if it was an athlete that died, it's not how a sports game would be played. They just wouldn't put players on different teams. So while I understand that AEW is trying to do something nice for Luke Harper's oldest son, I think maybe that might have been something better done in private as opposed to on a nationally produced television show. I understand that some fans might like friends getting together in groupings, but to me, again, that's something that I would do in private, not on an episodic television program. Again, I just want to state that's one man's opinion. I don't think AEW necessarily did a bad job with it. It just wouldn't have been the approach I personally would have taken, and I just wanted to say that before the review of the program began.
Yes. The first match of the night, we saw the AEW Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks, and their tag team partner, Colt Cabana, for the night, defeated Matt Hardy and Private Party. I thought it was a fun opening match for the show. After the match, the Acclaimed were taken out by the Bucks, Colt Cabana, and SCU, after they came to the ring to start something, but they got their asses kicked instead. They did some things throughout the night. They started to talk shit about the Dark Order. I thought some of the stuff they did throughout the night was a little early. The jabs at the Dark Order and the jabs at Brodie Lee and the family and stuff like that, they were very subtle, but I thought it was a little too early for that, especially with the show being dedicated to him. And they did a lot of tributes, but there was about 3 or 4 jabs they did throughout the show that I thought they would have been fine if he did it in a few weeks, a few months, but a couple days after he passed away on the tribute show, I just thought it was not a good place to do it, especially with the family there. But I thought it was a fun opening 6-man tag team match, even though it was one of the 4 or 5 that we saw throughout the night. But I don't want to bash the night too much because it was a tribute to a man that passed away at the age of 41, who left his family behind and who was a family man. So this is a show I won't really bash at all. So what did you think of the opening match?
The one thing I always notice, it seems like the bald-headed referee is always in there for the Young Bucks match, and they always take so much credibility away from that guy when they're in the ring instead of for the standard 5 count before it's supposed to be a disqualification or forced out of the ring. They're in there sometimes for a minute and 45 seconds trying to get spot after spot after spot in. I thought Chris Jericho set a positive tone for this show, and I thought that was pretty good. I thought it was kind of nice to see the Sun at ringside before it became almost the theme of the show. I had no idea why they bothered to, at the conclusion of the match, involve the Acclaimed and then SCU. It seemed like even in a tribute show like this, they had to go about overbooking things. Boom Boom Cabana missed an elbow on Max Caster completely. I just thought, again, on something that should have been sweet and simple, it kind of turned into a schmaz. Not
Again, even in a tribute episode, they still have to overbook things.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you're trying to honor a man, and you're going to have someone come out. And I really thought, once they came out, I go, oh, they're going to say something about Brodie, and then fans are going to go ballistic. Then they started talking, and I go, oh, they're going to get murdered. But this is one of the times I was actually glad it was overbooked, because if they had them say some bullshit on the mic about Brodie just to get some cheap heat, that would have been awful. And that wouldn't have been needed. So this is one of the few times I was glad to see some people get the shit beat out of them in storyline. When we came back from commercial break, we got another tribute video from TNT champion Darby Allin. Not much to say about these little tribute videos. They're just thoughts and memories of Brodie Lee, so not much to break down there. Just wanted to note what was going on. The next match of the night was Lance Archer, Evil Uno, and Stu Grayson defeating Eddie Kingston, Butcher, and Blade. An okay 6-man tag match. I thought it was better than it was going to be. I didn't really have much hopes for this match. As we have stated before, Evil Uno, we are both not high on. Stu Grayson, I haven't really seen much of. Eddie Kingston, I don't really care for. And Butcher and Blade, okay. But a little bit better than I thought it was going to be, which is a positive for this match. So it was okay. What did you think of it?
I thought it was very unorganized. That's how it felt to me. I think a lot of the show felt unorganized, but we don't understand the pressures that the powers that be in AEW were under to try and put this show together. Again, as I noted, I definitely would have taken it in a very different direction than they did. It's one man's opinion. I didn't think the match was much to write home about. I did enjoy Jake Roberts getting a little spot, and that made me smile.
Got his little clothesline in.
Yeah.
Should he have hit the DDT?
I don't think he could at this point. He'd be lucky to get a D, never mind the DDT.
The funny thing is, I have 2 Jake Roberts sitting in my car right now, actually.
And they are ready for MWF Studios, downtown Melrose, Massachusetts, and the zip code of champion 02176. Hopefully these Jakes are being kept in what we like to call pristine condition.
I'm sitting in my back seat for about a week or 2. I don't know how much worse they can get in condition. But after the match, we got a few more tribute videos from more people on the AEW roster. I didn't really want to name them because some of them, they had one person do them, and then other ones, they kind of did a montage of a few. But move on to the next match here. Hangman Adam Page, Alex Reynolds, and John Silver defeated MJF, Santana, and Ortiz. In the middle of the match, we got a run-in from Eric Rowan or Joseph Rudd, whatever you want to call him, to help Page and company win. Again, a match I thought was better than expected. I didn't really think this whole night was going to go that great since it was thrown together, but it was a lot better than I thought. What did you think of yet another 6-man tag match?
To be honest, not much. I understand they were trying to do something nice for the kid. And again, I think if this was something that was done in private, I think it would have been very, very nice of AEW to do. But to put it on television, the number one heel and one of the number one heels in the organization being hit with a kendo stick by an 8-year-old under a mask, I understand it was a difficult night for all, but it wouldn't have been the direction I would have taken it. And I thought it was very nice to have Eric Rowan come in. I think Chris Jericho had a few slips when it came to the names of some of the people that came out during the night. But again, it was a tough night for all. I hope towards the end of the night, some photos from his collection of WWE superstars wouldn't lead to any kind of an issue where it was a night of a tribute to the man more than anything wrestling themed or political or anything like that. But no, very nice to see Eric Rowan. I'm glad they brought him in for that. Those two were close. I thought they were a great tag team. I thought they were a very underrated tag team. As far as the overall match itself goes, again, yeah.
That's all you got to say right there. But the real question the real question is, did he find that kendo stick under the ring?
No, I think he had it in his, unless he snuck under the ring before they went live, I think he had it the whole night. Unlike WWE.
Yeah.
He would have had to crawl, I guess.
Again, after this match, we got another tribute video from Eddie Kingston. He's another man that's good with words. I probably liked his tribute video the most out of all of them.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the things that he spoke about with him not really being gone and his teachings following in through his kids, I thought, because my dad passed away when I was young, so that kind of hit with me, what he was saying and living on and stuff like that. So I thought that one, from my perspective, was the best one. In terms of, the wrestling aspect of it, probably Jon Moxley's would be the best one. But for me, I like the Eddie Kingston one because it hit home more than the other ones. The next match, Tay Conti and Anna Jay defeated Penelope Ford and Britt Baker. After the match, Thunder Rosa attacked Britt Baker yet again, a feud that I don't know what they're doing. I mean, how many times has Thunder Rosa attacked Britt Baker? And I don't even think they've had a match yet. I mean, they probably have, but maybe I forgot about it, of course. But I don't know what they're doing with this feud. I mean, if Rosa's attacked her at least 2 or 3 times by now, how have they not had a match or at least a proper confrontation in the ring instead of just these blindside attacks by each other for weeks, if not months? So the match itself, nothing to write home about, nothing to go crazy for. But what are you going to do? I myself have a crush on Anna Jay. I'll put that out. I do. I have a big, and she's less than 2 years older than me. So not too big of an age difference. But wherever that may go, who knows?
You know where your right hand's been on Wednesday night.
Well, I have females that help me with that, but I don't need to do it myself. But,
all right.
Well, what did you think of this tag team matchup?
You know what? I didn't want to dislike the show, so I tried to pay as little attention to it as possible. It was not much to write home about.
I was trying to stay away from the negative comments and stuff like that, but we'll move on is the best way to do it. After the match, we got a tribute video from Chris Jericho, another good one in the night.
That was very good, too. I forgot about his. I liked Moxley's the most, but Jericho, it felt sincere and from the heart as opposed to trying to get a little, wrestling style promo in there. I like Jericho's an awful lot, and Jericho does an awful lot of great work to try and help the boys out. So I tip my cap that I don't have on to Chris.
In the main event, the show, we saw Cody Rhodes, Orange Cassidy, and 10 of the Dark Order defeat Brian Cage, Will Hobbs, and Ricky Starks. After the match, there was a brawl between the two teams until the lights went out. Not The Undertaker, but Darby Allin and Sting came to their rescue. Team Cody and Team Taz faced off to close the wrestling part of the show before the Brodie Lee tribute video and little segment that happened before it. I thought the 6-man tag match was good. Again, a lot of these matches and the whole show itself I thought was going to be okay, but it was actually a little better than I thought it was going to be, especially the in-ring work didn't look as, I guess you could say, fake. I guess you could say sometimes you watch Dynamite and there's too many spotty type matches where, as we always talk about, people going for dives and just sitting there, or spots in the match that are messed up or forgotten about, stuff that looks way too, I guess, entertainment-ish rather than wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the main event of this show?
Well, when Orange Cassidy wasn't in, it was pretty good. I like the fact that, I don't know if JR and Chris Jericho are listening to these review shows. I'm sure they are, cough, cough. But, they made the remark that I have made now for a while, is that Ricky Starks reminds me of a younger, albeit much smaller version of The Rock, which is why I think Ricky Starks has so much potential to be one of the top heels of that organization. I like the fact that even though it was a tribute show to Brodie Lee, John Huber, that in the confines of what they were working with, they did take the time to point that out. I think he's an exceptional talent. I think he's just oozing with potential. I wish I had a pencil involved and the creative involved with him as I'd try and come up with some outstanding material. As far as the match itself goes, when you had certain guys in it, wasn't that bad. You can't go wrong with Cody Rhodes in any way, shape, or form. 10, I really, I don't know enough about. I haven't seen him enough. And unfortunately, my thoughts on Orange, but I'm not going to say anything negative about Orange, considering, again, what they were working with last night on Dynamite. I don't understand why they stand there. And this goes for any Sting-type run-in, or at this point, where him and Darby Allin were a good 7.5 minutes away from the ring, why they just continued to stand there and wait for them. You know what I mean?
And then, as we saw before, I believe it was last week's episode where we talked about how they ran away from Sting and Darby when they came out. It's just everything they've been doing with them is kind of just confusing. But I'm sure in the next couple, I don't even know if they announced it last night. It was an emotional episode last night, but they still got their plugs in, which was nice. I don't. And then they even mentioned on air that Darby Allin was Sting's protege. So I thought that was good in kind of giving us a little more context to what's going on with them.
It'd be nice if they actually established it on TV before just having the announcers throw it out. But, why bother?
At least we got a little more context into what they were doing rather than just coming out and making 5 or 6 men run away from them, that they had that much power. I don't know, but we'll see where it goes. Maybe a one-on-one match down the road. But Dynamite closed out with John Huber's family coming out to put his wrestling boots in the ring, do a nice tribute to him. After that, they played a very, very nice tribute video to Brodie Lee. Very emotional ending to the show. You had his wife in tears. You had his kid out there with the Dark Order mask and the kendo stick. Cody was out there. Tony Khan was out there. Sometimes I know I saw people on social media saying all this, he wasn't, a big wrestler. He never did anything and stuff like that. That doesn't matter. That people live lives outside of wrestling that leaves a mark on people that's much bigger than what they do in the ring. The way he was a family man, the way he was to other people backstage, just what you see on camera, doesn't mirror what they are backstage too. He was one of the most well-known, friendly people backstage and was such a nice person. I mean, you look at all the tributes people did, there wasn't one negative thing said about him. Everything was positive, and almost every single person said he was the best family man. But I send strength and positivity to that family. So I know kind of what they're going through, but tough time for them. But what did you think of the ending of the show?
I have to be honest again. I don't know if I would have involved the kids, especially at the age they're at. The younger one in the beginning of the show looked a little befuddled by everything that was going on and a lot to take in with the loss of their father. I don't know if, being part of professional wrestling, 10 bell salutes was the best course for him. Again, I totally feel AEW had nothing but good intentions with what they did. I just don't know if it was me that I'd want my 3-year-old out there for that. With the confusion the poor little guy must be going through. The older of the two, he seemed like he was having the time of his life. But again, who knows how much has truly resonated with him. Hopefully someday the kids look back on it and, they absolutely love the tribute that was presented to their dad. I just know if it was me and someone had asked me ahead of time if we were to do a show in your passing, how would you like it to go? there were some things I would have done a little different, but again, I wasn't privy to those conversations and phone calls about the December 30th AEW, but I thought it was nice to leave the boots in the ring. I really would have gone a different direction with the song selection for the video, but, again, that's just nitpicking, I guess.
And Tony Khan actually bought the rights to that video they play, or the song that they played.
Well, he should sell it back.
But I'm going to mention I didn't grade the show. I didn't want to grade a tribute episode of Dynamite just because it wasn't real. I wouldn't consider it a real episode of Dynamite since they didn't really do much of storylines, and I didn't feel right grading a show that was tributed to a man that passed away. So that was my decision. But I don't know.
And you know what? Funny enough, my thought was 110% the same. I didn't want to grade that show because I felt it would have been unfair.
Yeah, it's just, as I said, it's not your regular Dynamite episode. I thought some of it was kind of not really the right thing to do, especially with what I was talking about, the little jabs at him, which I thought were too soon. But yeah, I didn't want to grade a show like this.
Or have an MJF go after the Sun. I didn't think that was really needed.
And then spitting on the mask,
yeah.
And it's just that didn't need to be done at all. But I mean, I don't know. It was a very nice show. The tributes they did and everything, it was great. A lot better than I thought, but that's where I'm going to leave it at for that.
And before I interrupt you, are there any news and notes coming out of this show?
Out of that show? No, I've already
done. All right.
Yeah.
Well, they have a couple of big weeks coming up with their New Year's shows, but those were plugged early and often last night on Dynamite, so there's a lot to look forward to the next couple of weeks. You want to talk about a lot to look forward to, fans. Right now over on the Patreon, we have the exclusive Tony Atlas New Year's Eve episode at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. But before you go and join our growing Patreon platform, we got a lot more to talk about here on this show with last night's WWE NXT. Then at the top of the hour, we party with Marty Jannetty one more time in 2020. We'll be back after this brief timeout. All right, wrestling fans, welcome back. We discussed AEW Dynamite, the tribute to the late, great John Huber, Luke Harper, Brodie Lee. Myself and John Cena Sr. also have a great discussion about him tomorrow night at 10 p.m. after SmackDown. But now it is time for our thoughts on the December 30th, 2020 edition of WWE NXT from the Capitol Wrestling Center in Orlando, Florida.
All right, we'll get into NXT now. NXT kicked off with Bronson Reed defeating Isaiah Swerve Scott. Solid opening match, but I'm going to be honest with this one. I was a little confused why they opened with it. It seems more of a middle-of-the-show match rather than, an opening kickoff match. I mean, yeah, they're trying to build up Bronson Reed. And Isaiah Swerve Scott, I mean, he's 1-1 in the past couple weeks, and before that, he hadn't had a match in a few months, a few weeks. So, I mean, I don't know if I'd kick the show off with two guys who haven't really done much in a few months. I don't want to talk about the AEW episode, but when you're going up against an AEW episode that you kind of know you're going to lose viewership to when it's a tribute episode to him, when you even have the WWE wrestlers tweeting at watch AEW tonight,
yeah.
I mean, you're guaranteed to lose this episode. So, I mean, I kind of get they didn't do too much on this episode, but I mean, to me, I wouldn't open the show with it. That's just my opinion, especially when the match was only about 8 minutes. So, I mean, it's still a solid match. Don't get me wrong. Good wrestlers, but opening the show with it wouldn't be my choice.
Well, I like the match an awful lot. I like the 1 count that we saw at one point when Isaiah Swerve Scott kicked out at 1. As I've noted before, almost like Ricky Starks over on AEW, Scott is someone that I'd keep special. I'd try to keep him away from doing meaningless jobs. here in the opening match on a TV show on December 30th is a meaningless job. As far as the match goes, I thought it was actually very good. I thought it was well put together. Tip of the cap to both men, who I see big things from going into 2021.
I mean, it was a solid match. Give them props for that. But, I mean, opening the show with it, wouldn't be my choice. But we move on. Shotzi Blackheart won 2020 Breakout Superstar of the Year. As we move into the awards, last night was NXT's kind of award show with matches involved, too. You kind of knew who was going to win each award, so it wasn't really too shocking. I don't know if these are gimmick awards where they kind of choose, or it was actually chosen by the fans, because I think the main roster ones, they actually did polls. So I think those weren't gimmick awards, but these were. But Shotzi Blackheart won. I know you've been very high on her, being one of the future female stars. I'm not as high on her as you are, but I still like her. But what did you think of her winning?
When I say high on her, I would expect her to be someone along the lines of Eugene or Otis. I think eventually, once she makes the main roster, I think she'll be over big instantly. I think WWE won't resist being able to shove her down fans' throats. Then, like the Zach Gowans and the Eugenes and the Otises of the world, 4 or 5 months later, the fans want nothing to do with her anymore. But for what she is, she's kind of a fun character.
The next match, Grizzled Young Veterans defeated Breezango. After the match, Everrise and Grizzled Young Veterans had a stare-off on the entrance ramp before Everrise ran off. During this match, they actually announced that the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Tournament will start again in 2 weeks. I don't know how excited you are for it, but kind of for me. What did you think of this matchup?
I enjoyed the match a great deal. I thought it was kind of an upset to see the Grizzled Young Veterans over Breezango. As I've said several times before on these shows, I think that Tyler Breeze is one of the most underrated stars in WWE. It's a shame that his 2015-16 singles career as a heel went the way it did for what I thought was kind of petty reasons. But, it's good to see Breezango get a fresh coat of paint. They've been treated a little bit more seriously in NXT than that Sherlock Holmes nonsense they were doing on SmackDown. I didn't expect to see the Grizzled Young Vets go over, so I guess an upset headed into the big Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic.
Speaking of tag teams, Undisputed Era won the 2020 Tag Team of the Year. The other teams that they put up on there, I really couldn't see any other tag teams winning this, so not too much of a shock there. I don't know if you have anything else to add to Undisputed Era and their big award.
Nope, that was the right team.
Yeah. The next matchup, Mercedes Martinez defeated Valentina Feroz, however you want to pronounce it. Fairly quick enhancement match. Nothing really much to break down other than they're building Mercedes Martinez up for challenging Io Shirai and the NXT Women's title. Anything else to add?
Glad she was broken away from Retribution. That is certainly something that's only going to help Mercedes Martinez. A fine person, competed here in the Millennium Wrestling Federation, like her a lot. Hopefully, bigger things to come for her in 2021 now that she's away from Retribution. The match was exactly what it should have been. It enhanced exactly what it is that Mercedes does, and I like the fact that there was a female referee for the match.
Not our good friend, John Candy.
It was not Candy, no.
Staying with the women's division, NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai won 2020 Women's Competitor of the Year. Again, not really a shock there. I mean, I wish they had the fans vote. I don't know if the fans voted on it, but the way the awards went, it made it seem like they kind of just picked them because everything was pre-shot, and it kind of just seemed not like a real award thing. Adam Cole won 2020 Men's Competitor of the Year. Again, no big shock there. The next matchup we'll get into, Pete Dunne defeated Roderick Strong. I thought it was a very good match to bridge the first and second hour of the show to keep the fans in tune, staying over to that second half of the show. What do you think of this matchup between Dunn and Strong?
I thought maybe a little bit of an upset with Dunn going over via pinfall on Roderick. I thought it was an excellent match. I enjoyed watching it. The first hour of this show was very, very, very good.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of thought Dunn was going to win. Sometimes, as I said before, I'll write in the outcomes of the match before it happens, and I don't know. I guess two different opinions. The next award given out for 2020 Match of the Year went to Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly. Their match for the NXT title, which I believe, which show was that on? Was that War Games? No, that wasn't War Games.
No.
That was Halloween
31. That's about as much as I remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, it was TakeOver 31, but I'm trying to think if they had like a name to it. I don't think so, but I guess it was just TakeOver 31. That was that show. I know we talked about it last week that had, I believe, 5 or 6 matches, but all of them were like quick paced, go, 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 go. And this was the main event that kind of slowed the show down at the end. Good match, don't get me wrong, but I know me and you have agreed that the pacing of the show was a little off in how they did it. What do you think of this award?
No, I thought it was one of the better matches in wrestling in 2020. I enjoyed Balor and O'Reilly an awful lot, and I enjoyed at the end of the, I don't know if it's an award presentation, but the Golden Bell presentation, I liked the little foreshadowing face-off they had with Finn and Dunn, as Finn was headed towards the ring when Dunn was coming back from his victory defeating Roderick Strong. I thought that was just a nice little tiny tease, not overdone like a lot of the things we see on WWE-themed television programs. It was very good.
After Finn Balor won the award, as you said, he went out to the ring and he cut a promo. He hyped up his match next week against Kyle O'Reilly for the NXT title in a rematch from their newly won Match of the Year. O'Reilly didn't waste much time until he came out because it was only a few minutes until he came out to the ring. Kyle cut a fiery promo right in the face of champion Balor, and Finn came back with a fiery promo of his own. Karrion Kross and Scarlett Bordeaux then came out to say that he owns that title and never really lost it, which is true. But he was attacked by Damian Priest on stage, and they brawled all over the, I guess you could say, arena or whatever you want to say, until they both went through a few tables.
He had to go through a couple of tables or it wouldn't have been a WWE show.
A very good segment to get me hyped for their rematch next week for the NXT title. I could have done without Priest and Kross, though. I mean, it makes sense right now, Priest getting revenge from when Kross attacked him a few weeks ago, so that makes sense. It's not like where they keep attacking each other back and forth, so it's good. Get revenge, and then Priest and Kross will be facing each other next week on New Year's Evil, which is a very stacked card. It's almost like a takeover card. What did you think of this segment and everything that followed?
I thought it started off strong. I liked the back and forth between O'Reilly and Finn. I thought it became a little overdone once you included Kross and then Priest into the mix, but they were trying to kill two birds with one stone. They were trying to up the action, up the ante, headed into the big show on next week's NXT, which I understand. I would have rather have seen the two separated, I guess, if that makes any sense, instead of making it one segment.
Yeah, I guess the way Karrion Kross lost the title, that kind of ties into the segment, and then Priest trying to get his revenge. It makes sense, but I wouldn't do it that way, I guess. Promotional video regarding Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez's feud was showed next. I said last week that this feud has gotten stale, but this video actually got me hyped and gave it some life and background to their feud. Ripley versus Gonzalez in a last woman standing match next week will be a good blow-off match to their feud that's been going on for a few months now. I'm glad they did this video to show how they used to be friends and kind of how it fell apart and why this feud is going on, so it made sense and gave it some life and some background other than just having them fight each other every week. So it made sense, and it also hyped up the match for next week. Again, another good promotional video or segment building up a feud or a match for next week. So another star for NXT last night. Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't ask me my thoughts, though.
Well, I kind of bridged it over to you.
All right. I actually I agree with you 100%. I thought it was a very well done promotional video package. I don't have a heck of a lot of interest in the match itself, but I have more than I did before I saw that video presentation. So well done.
Very well done. The next segment, we had Cruiserweight Champion Santos Escobar cut a promo, but he was interrupted by Raw's own Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado. We then got a match between Lucha House Party and Legado del Fantasma. In that matchup, Lucha House Party defeated Legado del Fantasma. A fun tag match. Next week at New Year's Evil, we'll get Santos Escobar against Grand Metalik for the Cruiserweight title. I can't see Grand Metalik winning, but I think it would be a good little feud to have for a little bit. Again, another surprise by WWE. I didn't expect Lucha House Party to come out. As we saw, The Miz was actually beat by Grand Metalik the other night on Raw. And I remember I said to you, what are they going to do with Grand Metalik now? Are they... I remember I said to you, maybe Cruiserweight title go down to NXT, and he showed up, which I kind of just threw it out there as like a, what if type of thing. And they showed up. I thought it was a good little surprise, and I think we're in for a good match between Metalik and Escobar next week.
I just think they're short on tag teams for the Dusty Classic, and this is their way to incorporate them into the mix.
Yeah, that too, but sometimes as I say, I like the surprises. I didn't expect it, and I think we're gonna get a good little feud out of these groupings. I was waiting for The Miz to come out and sabotage the match.
Cash in his briefcase.
Maybe Miz and Morrison will be in the Dusty Classic in the first round of it. You never know. Maybe we get Lucha. Maybe that was why they had Metalik defeat him. Maybe in the first round they have Miz and Morrison versus Lucha House Party. Who knows? The next award, 2020 Future Star of the Year, which I don't really get that award. It's an award for 2020, but it's an award for the future. So I guess it's a little bit, it's almost like Back to the Future.
Or Rookie of the Year, maybe.
Yeah, I would have liked it kind of stated as that than 2020 Future Star of the Year. Kind of, it's a contrast, It's like an oxymoron.
Well, it's not all that different than the Breakout Star of the Year, but I guess they just want to give out some golden bells.
Yeah. It was won by Austin Theory, me and you. I know we both have high praise for him for the future. We can both see him being, I don't know if you said this, you can correct me, but being a WrestleMania main eventer. I don't know if you said that.
Yes, I have said that.
Okay.
And I continue to believe it as long as they keep him away from Gargano family Christmas episodes.
Yeah. The next award, NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai won 2020 overall competitor of the year.
Please.
I don't know why they needed to do this overall competitor of the year. They had a men's, they had a females. I don't know why they had to pick out of the two.
Just so they can say they had a woman win it. And that's why I rolled my eyes at it, and that's why it really, my attitude towards the show went downhill from there. To compare what and nothing to take away from her body of work in 2020, but to compare that to what a lot of the men did in 2020 is absurd, and it's insulting.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of the reason why I think these awards weren't really voted on per se, but what are you going to do? And the main event of NXT, which I thought it just kind of really doled the night, NXT North American Champion Johnny Gargano defeated Leon Ruff to retain his title. A feud I really don't care about anymore. I didn't really care about it in the first place when Ruff upsetted Johnny Gargano a few weeks ago. So, I mean, to have this in the main event yet again of NXT, I just really didn't care. I mean, might have been a good match for some, but when you don't care about the match in the first place, I really couldn't get into it that much. As I've stated with Leon Ruff, I don't know what they're going to or trying to do with him, but I'm not sold on it and I'm not buying into it. So I just kind of a throwaway main event in my opinion, but what did you think of the main event to close out NXT?
To be honest, not a terrible match. If you look at just the bell-to-bell work, Johnny Gargano was totally miscast as a heel, as he was someone that the fans really enjoyed and were behind. Leon Ruff, to me, there's very little credibility to go along with the guy that is an outstanding athlete and has great charisma. I'll give him those two positive check marks. But to put that in the main event slot on a show that was so good, didn't make a heck of a lot of sense to me. I really didn't care about this. I know they teased the C word all night and all that nonsense. And to me, I don't, you know me, I'm not enamored with the comedy and the goofiness and things like that. And that's all that this segment was. So the last 15, 20 minutes of the show really went downhill for me for what I thought was a really superb show for the most part.
And what sucked is that NXT actually went overtime. They usually go 8 to 10. Occasionally they go overtime into the third hour, I guess you could say. And this is one of the times I did not want it going past 10 o'clock. This match needed to be over. I'm going to talk a little bit about my grade right now. I'll pass it over to you in a second. If they ended the show on a good note, I honestly would have given it a 7. But with the way the show ended and it kind of just, I'll agree with you. The show was very, very good. I would have given it a 7 if the show ended on a better beat. But it ended, and I was kind of just like, this is going to, as I said, I don't know what show we were talking about. I think it was Raw, and that show actually wasn't too bad. And sometimes the ending just kind of just worsens the show a little bit, puts you in a bad mood. So I gave it a 6 out of 10. I thought it was a good show. I think what took away from it was the gimmick awards, which I didn't really care about. And the main event, I thought those are really the only two bad things of the show. So not much of it that really turned me away. What did you think of NXT in your grade?
Very similar to your thought process, although, again, I don't know if it's the holiday season or what. I went a little higher. If it was not for the Io Shirai and having Gargano and Ruff in the main event, I actually had it graded as an 8. Having those two portions of the show, it downgraded it to a 7 out of 10 for me, which is still a strong overall effort. I couldn't believe my eyes, again, trying to push the women's agenda with the Io Shirai. And Gargano and Ruff, while the match itself was fine, there was nothing really bad about it even though they're technically not cruiserweights, they were fighting over the North American Championship. For two smaller guys, they had a pretty good match. I don't buy Gargano as a heel at all. I don't like it. I think it's a turn off more than it is a turn on. And Leon Ruff, I've buried that poor guy to death. Nothing wrong with him. I'm sure he's a fine human being and a hardworking athlete. He's just not my cup of tea for professional wrestling enjoyment, at least in the main event position.
He's like Orange Cassidy. We tend to
No. I like Leon much more than Orange Cassidy. Much more.
I'm saying in the way we bury him every week.
I don't think I've ever been as rough on Leon as I've been on Orange.
No. I'm not saying in the same caliber of how we do it, but I'm just saying every week we seem to kind of hate on the same things. Firefly, Funhouse.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
It's almost like a weekly thing where we shit on, Orange Cassidy, not as much on Leon Ruff, but, Firefly, Funhouse. There's always those 4 or 5 things a week that we kind of just, beat up a little bit, which it's funny. It's almost like a weekly thing, that we keep.
It's like when everybody gets going on Larson during the live premieres.
Well, sometimes he has to be put in timeout, but as you always say,
you have the blue wrench now during the live premiere. I like that. You're like the Greg Valentine of the moderators.
But it doesn't take me 15 minutes.
No, you adjust that wrench really quick.
Oh boy, but there are no news and notes for NXT as we talked about the matches that are going on for next week at New Year's Evil. Again, I don't know why they're doing a New Year's Evil show a week after New Year's, but I mean, if I was going to do a New Year's Evil show, I would want to do it last night on December 30th rather than January 6th when basically no one cares about it being the New Year anymore, especially when it's a play on words of New Year's Eve, New Year's Evil. So, I mean, no one really cares about the name of it, but I think it has a very good card. And, of course, they're going up against AEW's New Year's Smash. That's also play on words. on New Japan Pro Wrestling's New Year's Dash. So we'll see what happens. I think it'll be a very, very good Wednesday night next week. And for our review, the day after on Thursday.
Must see.
Must see. As the Miz says, must see TV.
And are those the only news and notes coming out of NXT?
What other? I mentioned the Dusty Rhodes Classic.
Yeah, that bizarre little baby they have as a logo for New Year's Evil.
I don't know. They didn't announce anything else. We went through the awards.
Looks like he belongs at the studio.
Well, there's a lot of people who could be partnered with that.
Now, well, I mean, it looks like that wraps up our review of NXT on December the 30th, 2020 from the Capitol Wrestling Center in Orlando, Florida. I've drawn a blank because I'm people watching out the window. As I've noted before, usually this little room where we do the podcast-style episodes from is almost like a funeral home, and I like to open up the window, let a little light in, brighten up my spirits, and I never know what's going to be walking up and down Main Street in the zip code of Champion 02176, and there's been, I have to be honest, a couple of oddities today.
Well, is that lady there that always sits in front of the door?
No. But your friend, the French douchebag, departed in the middle of the John Cena Sr. episode we taped for tomorrow night, so he's gone. I have the whole studio to myself, and I can't say that's a bad way to end 2020. The big question is Linda going to take me out for dinner to end the year?
I would put my money on no.
Probably not.
Unless you want to go to Mohegan Sun with me tonight.
You know, geez, maybe if you decided to invite me before now, I would have taken you up on that.
How would you get there, though?
Huh?
How would you get there, though?
I have my ways.
Take one of those fabulous Ubers that a couple of our friends
I don't think I would be taking an Uber from the zip code of Champions to Mohegan Sun. I think that'd be a little bit more than we have in the coffers, but a nice idea in general, I guess. I'm sure I'll be, as you blast away information about partying with Marty at 10 o'clock, I will moderate the great episode we have tonight. To end 2020 with Marty Jannetty, where he talks about the infamous relations between Terry Garvin of the Cream Team and Brooklyn Brawler Steve Lombardi, as well as some ribs from the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith on George the Animal Steel and other fun WWF road stories. And again, fans, I implore you, while everyone can tune in at 10 o'clock Eastern to enjoy the Marty Jannetty episode, only you Patreons can enjoy our New Year's Eve special we did with Tony, where Tony reflects a little bit on life, a little bit on free meals, and a little bit on more than that over on patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. What a way to end 2020. Mirade and Degnan talking AEW and NXT, partying with Marty, and then listening to Tony talk a little bit about everything, and he's probably still talking and doesn't realize we're not on the air right now.
Well, just a little bit on the free meals, though, but...
And then to kick off 2020, as we noted, Friday night after SmackDown,
or
baby.
2021.
That year, too. John Cena Sr.'s Thunderdome lights up. Forget about Times Square. I'm going to tell you, that piece is going to be illuminating. You can see it in outer space. John Cena Sr.'s Fabulous Fridays at 10 p.m. after SmackDown Friday night. It's going to be a heck of an episode where we discuss Luke Harper, we discuss Danny Hodge, we discuss much more that I can't remember off the top of my head because it's been a long day already and it's not even 3 o'clock.
Well, hopefully the new year brings less stress for you and I.
For you, maybe. For me, I doubt it. But I tell you this, it has been a fantastic year overall. If you look at where our video presentations were ending 2019 to see where we are today, I'm very proud of all the hard work, even though I get on your case a lot because I still think there is more we can tap into with you and more that you can dedicate to the cause. I think there still continues to be great growth in you, more experience under the belt with you. moldable clay, so to speak, much like with some of the great wrestling talents we talk about. And I'm proud of all the great fans that we have out there, because if it wasn't for them, it would just be you and I talking to each other on the phone. We've made so many friends. I don't want to name them all again because I know I always forget a couple and then I feel bad when I listen back, but you guys know who you are. We really didn't get into this whole quote-unquote premiere of these episodes, I think, until the summertime, and that can only be attributed to, I guess, the MVP of our superfans, Slick Rick B. He was the one that put the idea out there when we were having to tape episodes on Tony Atlas's French porch as a result of coronavirus. So, Slick Rick, we thank you. All of the fans that enjoy the premieres of these shows, not only are we going to try and throw out the subtle hint that the Super Chat is open for business, if you want to tip the bartender, buy us a drink, but we weren't even having premieres like this up until Slick Rick kind of pushed the agenda upon myself and the gentleman that could only be described as Glance. So,
and I heard he's not MIA anymore.
From what I understand, there is potential for a Glance January 2021 return.
Well, I got someone who's MIA too that I'm still trying to figure out.
Angelo?
Yeah.
Where is he?
The thing with him is he's a little bit like Glance, but not too bad. Sometimes he doesn't text me for a few days, and he kind of just... But the thing is, I see him active on social media, but he doesn't text back. So I don't know what he's up to. He's probably making pizzas over at the restaurant. But I mean, sometimes he just goes in those little moods where he doesn't text back. And then all of a sudden he'll send me a paragraph about, oh, sorry, I didn't answer, been busy or something. But he's been MIA since about Sunday. So,
well, one thing I'll always say about Glance is I hear from him every single Christmas like clockwork. And granted, he's Jewish. He probably doesn't have as many people he needs to reach out to on Christmas. But every Christmas he reaches out to me, and we had a tremendous back and forth that day. So we're almost like the Royal Rumble. We're expecting a Glance return.
Well, sometimes those Rumble returns aren't in it. Maybe he'll be in the Rumble.
I highly doubt it. But you know what? He does have that background in shooting, as he's mentioned before. But wrestling fans, we're running out of time on this one. We are just, according to this clock, just a few minutes away from Wrestling Insider's Party with Marty at 10 p.m. Eastern. Then again, if you're on Patreon, head on over there before the end of the night for Tony Atlas's New Year's Eve special, patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. For my partner in crime down in southwestern Connecticut, again, a man that has more socks than there has been years of life, Mr. Matt Degnan. It's been a hell of a 2020. Expect the unexpected in 2021. Until we speak again, folks, be well, stay healthy, don't be a scumbag, don't drink and drive. Good night. Wrestling fans, we explode into Christmas for the 9th annual Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive Cyber Fan Fest. A human sea of superstar guests have come to MWF Studios for live interviews, tributes, and virtual autograph signings. The good news is, if you miss these superstar signings, we have individual autograph photos available as well as all-inclusive VIP packages throughout the season. If you want them for yourself or to give us a holiday gift for Christmas, get the order in by December the 19th. On Christmas night, we'll reveal the winner of the massive Christmas Week Mega Raffle, where one lucky fan wins an entire jackpot of prizes, again, to benefit the Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive. 2020 has been a brutal year for the economy, as well as our toy drive efforts. We could use any and all the help you could give us. Be part of the professional wrestling community. If you're going to take part in any toy drive this year, let it be one where we update Santa Claus's GPS and honor Paul Bearer's memory. Head on over to BostonWrestling.com now.